But so are most cereals, packaged breads, and plant milks. CNN's Meg Terrell visited the National Institutes of Health, where researchers are trying to determine why ultra-processed foods lead to such poor health outcomes and why it's so hard to stop eating them.
Sam Srasada's been living in this hospital room at the National Institutes of Health for 2 weeks.
Do you have like wearables on, like tracking everything?
Yes, so I do have a couple of these sensors.
He's not sick. He's a participant in a clinical trial, one of the first of its kind, measuring his movement, his blood, his gut microbiome, even the air he breathes, all to try to better understand how our health is affected by ultra-processed foods.
Oh, I think your food's coming in. We saw the kind of food he got. It had eggs and spinach and yogurt. But we don't know. That could be processed. It could be unprocessed. That's part of the trial.
Ultra-processed foods contain additives and ingredients you wouldn't find in your own kitchen. They were shown in the previous NIH study to drive overeating and weight gain, according to researcher Dr. Kevin Hall.
Are ultra-processed foods just junk foods?
What we often think of as junk foods probably captures a big chunk of the ultra-processed foods kind of category. But there's a lot of things that people would be surprised that are in the ultra-processed foods category and, could potentially be healthy for you. So things like whole grain breads that you might buy from the supermarket. Most of those are considered ultra-processed because of some of the additives and preservatives that are in there, as well as how they're manufactured. There's a lot of debate about whether or not all ultra-processed foods are bad for you.
And that's what this trial is trying to find out.
What are the mechanisms? What is it about this category of foods that is driving people to overconsume calories?
Dr. Hall's team has 2 ideas about what might be causing people to overeat some ultra-processed foods: their energy density, or how many calories are in each gram of food, and their hyperpalatability, when foods contain just the right combinations of salt, sugar, fat, and carbs to make us not want to stop eating them.
This is where they prepare all of the food. And they don't just prepare it, they weigh it before it goes up and when it comes back after the participant has eaten.
Each day, participants in the trial are offered a total of 6,000 calories, and researchers measure how much they choose to eat. The trial is a month long, and each week has a different diet, minimally processed or different kinds of ultra-processed. Sam was in an ultra-processed week during our visit, but one with foods Dr. Hall doesn't expect will drive him to overeat.
How is that ultra processed?
It's all based on the ingredients. So the eggs that we used in that omelet, the egg whites were a liquid egg product. So it has ingredients in it that make it ultra processed. It's not just egg. So our yogurts, the pancake syrup that was in the yogurt, those all have ultra processed ingredients in terms of added flavors, added sweeteners.
The next day, Sam would switch to meals that were more energy dense and hyper palatable, the ones expected to lead to overeating.
So you can see that these are all foods that they're ultra processed, and you can see that the volume compared to this is quite different as well.
Wow, that is really illustrative. I mean, just looking, you need 2 trays of food for this one and 1 tray of food for this next diet when you're getting the same number, you're offering at least the same number of calories.
Correct, yes.
Once a week, Sam spends a full day sealed in this metabolic chamber.
Do you know what they're measuring in there?
I think they're measuring how much O2 I consume and how much carbon dioxide I release.
The air he breathes in and out can tell researchers how many calories he's burning and whether they're coming from carbs or fat, all to help understand what ultra-processed foods really do to our bodies.
Can tell you my kids, they love their processed food. So let me hear about this now. Let's see how we can get kids on board to eat better. I'm open. Whoever wants to go next.
I'll jump in there. What's crazy is you look at Europe and, the food babe, Vanya Hari, she's done a great job pointing this out, that there's all these products that are processed and the same exact product, like Fruit Loops and on, Quaker Oats. They've got ingredients that are like 5 ingredients, just like you would expect. We got like 15. It's like, why is this happening? And it's because they don't allow these ingredients. So, like you say, like Americans are lazy, and I hear that from a lot of people. A lot of people say that. But, I hear they even tell this to doctors in medical school. And my question is, Is this something that just kind of convenient for some people to put out there who are profiting off of us being poisoned? I go to Europe, it's the same kind of people. And so many Americans go there, and you eat more when you're traveling a lot of times, and you lose weight. You're losing weight, you're feeling better. And so, everybody has this this experience. So what's the difference? Like I said, they got so many less chemicals they're using. And I go back to the glyphosate again. This is in those processed foods, right? So these processed foods got these commodity crops. It's the same, enriched, bleached flour. It's the same corn syrup. It's the same soybean oil, canola oil. And these are GMO crops a lot of times that have glyphosate in them. And yeah, it's just crazy. One thing that we're doing that is just beyond, and we talk about prices. We have a practice that is outlawed in Europe where we are spraying our grains and our beans at harvest with this glyphosate, which is a known carcinogen, a known antibiotic, a known endocrine disruptor, and it chelates our nutrients. And only 3% of our farmers are doing this. This is crazy, and it's just saving them a little bit money, making things a little bit cheaper for them. We should be allowing this, guys. Kennedy beat, like I was mentioning before, he beat Monsanto in the courtroom for $12 billion with a B, just for people using Roundup in their gardens, giving their families cancer. But we're eating this stuff, so it's really crazy. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit that we can address, and we don't need to drive prices through the roof, because when you go to these other countries, the food's so much healthier. It's the same price. It's just as affordable. So we just really need the government to step up. We need activism on this issue.
Speaking of that lab-grown meat, it essentially is cancer. It's like a piece of cancer.
So I lived in Germany for 4.5 years, and they love breads, they love brats, you see bakeries everywhere, and you do not see overweight, heavy people. You see, like bare bone people. They're Germans, they're taller, but people walk everywhere. They have a healthier lifestyle, but they eat a lot of carbs, but you do not see the same kind of sickness. And, I had my baby over there, and I remember the doctor used to say, "Oh, you Americans, you love your Big Mac meals and your big supersized drink." And I was like, "No, I don't." And he was like, "Well, that seems to be the people that come over here. We see Americans look like that because they love these big meals." And so even if you go to McDonald's over in Germany, their food and their ingredients are totally different than the McDonald's here. And just like I said, living over there 4.5 years, because we were military, we traveled to Italy, we ate pasta the whole time. Did we gain weight? No. But if here I ate pasta for 7 days, I would probably gain like 7 pounds. But it's our ingredients. And, and speaking like what you mentioned earlier about kids, it's education and just talking to them. My daughter is 10 years old. She loves candy. She loves gummy bears. She loves, Cheez-Its, Swedish fish, like all that stuff. And, I've talked about Make America Healthy Again so much that I was like, we got to start looking at the ingredients. We were at a kids museum in Winston-Salem, and she wanted Haribo gummy bears. So I was like, okay, let's look on the back. And it was interesting because we saw there was maybe 2 out of 10 packs that use fruit juices. The rest it was red dye, 40, there was blue, there was yellow. And I was like, yeah, we're not getting these. And she's like, yeah, but that one's the best one, Mom. Like, can I just please have one? And I'm like, yeah, well, we've talked about this. Like, you can have that one. But like, why do we have to go for the ones with the dyes? But they were in all of the Haribo. And I never knew Haribo gummy bears had that in there. I thought it was fruit juices, when I was younger. But I think it's talking to our kids and education. I mean, and that's just what you have to do.
My kids teach their friends to read the boxes and read the ingredients. They're like, turn that box around and read to me what it has in it. That's what they tell their friends. I used to, and like eating on the go, like I used to just bake sweet potatoes when they were little, and I would our car used to be kind of messy. It's cleaner now, but I would just toss them a sweet potato in the back seat. They would just, take off the top, and they would squeeze it like a tube of toothpaste into their mouth, and you could just eat on the go. I'd give a bag of frozen vegetables in the back seat. They just sit there and eat that. They didn't care. It's whatever they're used to. That's what kids will eat. They're not going to starve if you give them food.
So we're going to play one more video and let MAHA respond and give their closing thoughts on it. Then we're going to let you guys leave, and then we're going to do it with Skeptic. So we got one more video for you guys. Thank you guys for coming. So if you guys got it really organized, I know RFK's there with Trump. He switched. He might have been the reason Trump won. So congrats to you guys. But yeah, Nora, go ahead and play that video.
Reasons why Bobby Kennedy was looked at as so crazy.
100%.
Yeah.
And what's so funny, as I said, I saw him, very recently, the other night. And I said to him when I saw him, I sort of follow it. I'm just interested in the reaction to Bobby Kennedy. Mm-hmm. And remember, they attacked him as a crazy conspiracy nut because of the vaccines. Yeah. And he said there may be a connection between the vaccines and autism. They're like, shut up! And they canceled his contract with the New York Times. He had a contract to write for them. They canceled it.
Wow.
And they just basically drummed him out of polite society. They don't talk too much about that anymore.
Right.
But the vaccine stuff, because I think there is this recognition, and by the way, I'm not an expert, but that actually a lot of people were hurt. A lot of people were hurt, not just with the most recent round of mandatory vax, but in earlier rounds. Now, you could argue it was worth it. We have a flu vaccine. It academically supposedly prevents the flu, so maybe we get it, and some people get hurt. But they were telling us for years, nobody gets hurt. Well, that's just a lie.
Yeah, people get hurt all the time.
They get hurt all the time.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of vaccines. It's like even the polio vaccine. I recite this a lot, but they tested the polio vaccine in our hometown where I'm from. They had a primate testing facility there. And
are you serious?
Yeah, and that's where they tested the polio vaccine.
You grew up in a town with a primate testing facility?
Yeah.
What town?
Tulane National Primate Research Center.
That's got to be the most depressing place in the world. Is it in New Orleans? It's uptown?
It's outside of New Orleans. No. This is outside of New Orleans.
Yeah, they don't allow that in Audubon Park, do they?
No. But in our town, this is where they made it at. But that vaccine gave cervical cancer to tons of women. Of course. And they knew it when they put it out, but they'd already ordered it. So they're like, well, fuck it. We already paid for it.
Right. So exactly.
But so that, I think that.
So it's bad to lie. Right. And it's especially bad to lie at scale. Like if I lie to you about something and,
Yeah.
But if I'm lying to 350 million people, that's a crime. And they've done it. And the problem is at this point, it's like, I mean, I would go to a surgeon, because that's a pretty straightforward operation. I've got a knife. I'm going to take this thing out or sew this up or whatever. But I don't think I would go to a doctor for, we're going to try this drug. It's like, maybe I would. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't had to make that choice, thankfully. But I would be hesitant because I don't trust them because they lied. They got caught lying and they never.
Okay, so we're going to go to each MAHA member and let you guys give your closing thoughts and, what you thought of that clip. So, Danya, we'll start with you and we'll just work our way down.
Oh, can we start with somebody else? Sorry. I have to process. Okay.
Yeah. I agreed with a lot what was said on that, and I will have to say, I think you can, when you talk about vaccines or the V word, I'm sorry, you can say that vaccines has helped, but also has harmed our population. And you have to be able to understand that to have a civil discussion, because if you can't even agree on that and say, no, it hasn't had any side effects or it hasn't helped, then it's hard to have that discussion. So, even I am a huge vaccine skeptic, and I've had to acknowledge some of that because has it stopped infection, or, because people's immune system is in overdrive and they're not getting sick, but then it's causing other chronic diseases in the bodies. So that's my thought.
Tony,
and then, of course, I'm going to touch more on it.
Yeah, I'll just say I'm a technical person. I'm an engineer, but I've studied homeopathy and practiced holistic medicine for my family for over 40 years now. I haven't had to see a doctor. There's many alternatives out there, folks. Look into it. There's better ways to live and heal, and truly heal, not Band-Aid over symptoms, to truly get healthy. So I wanted to leave you all with that.
Thank you. Sierra, your closing thoughts. You're muted.
Oh, can you go back? I just want to say that if you're unsure about taking a vaccine, you can take it later if you choose to, but it never hurts to take longer to learn about it, because you can't untake it once you've taken it. And if you at all even just think about all the possibilities of what could be put in it, considering we can't really trust, we have no basis by which to trust in what's in that vaccine. I mean, they're not even consistent from one vial to the next when they're tested, what's even in there. We still don't even know what was in the COVID jabs.
Oh,
so
okay.
if you want to take more time, you can take it later. You can't untake it. That's all I want to say.
Sierra, your closing thoughts?
Yeah, I would just like to say, like Theo touched on, there's so many wildly unethical practices going on with vaccines from the very start. You can Google Stanley Plotkin under deposition. He's the grand godfather of vaccines, and he talks, under oath about the just insanely unethical practices of how they tested vaccines and what they put in vaccines. And there's a lot to learn. We are the most vaccinated society and the least healthy, wealthy country in the world. And what Bobby wants to do is just investigate why that is. We don't have gold standard safety testing without against placebo on these drugs. And we need gold standard, unbiased testing and product liability if people are harmed.
For sure. I want to thank all the MAHA members for coming on the new party. We were glad to hear and learn a lot of stuff about food and things like that. But we'll get with you guys again. It's also nice for us as a team to see another team working together. So we'll definitely get with you guys again. You guys have a great night. Skeptic, you stay.
Thanks, everybody.
You.